Welcome to Super Connections. I am your host, Jennifer K. Hill, helping you with the golden triangle of connection, where you will super connect to yourself, others, and your purpose. Join me each week as I will share from some of my favorite tips and tools for super connecting, and I'll bring in some of my favorite friends and thought leaders to help support you on your journey to super connecting to the life of your dreams. Hello, Super Connections tribe. I am your host, Jennifer K. Hill, and so grateful to have you back for episode 2 of the Super Connections podcast. Each week, our intention is to bring you wisdom, thoughts, and tools on how to super connect to yourself, others, and your purpose, or what I call the golden triangle of connection. So as I've said, sometimes we'll have guests on the show. Like today, we have a very special guest who is my birthday sister, Isabel Tierney. We shared the same birthday of March 1st and got connected through some beautiful synchronicities and serendipities. And when I thought of who we would want to have on as our first guest of Super Connections, Isabel really came to my heart and mind because I love the work that she does in terms of helping us move out of the red zone and into the green zone, which we began to talk a little bit about in episode 1 in using tools such as heart math in order to regulate our nervous system and to become more resilient. So who is Isabel, aside from an incredible human being that I feel lucky to call a friend? She is a stress and well-being expert, as well as a transformational leader and licensed therapist who helps individuals and organizations break free from stress in minutes so they can feel more alive, present, and fulfilled. After running a thriving therapy practice for over a decade, burnout changed everything for her. It cost her her health and her marriage. And I know we've all been through times like that where something catastrophic happens, stress happens, and then next thing you know, we lose the things that are most important to us. Isabel was determined to find a better way, and she developed a science-backed methodology that fosters deep well-being, energy, and joy. This practice and tool is rooted in neuroscience, psychology, and spirituality. And although it's a simple approach, it is very powerful and has been used across the globe from individuals to corporations. Over the last several years, she has trained and certified hundreds in the methodology, and is additionally a member of the Transformational Leadership Council and a professional member of the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. Isabel, I love you, my friend. I'm so happy you get to come on and share your wisdom about how we can super connect to ourselves, others, and our purpose.
I love that so much. I love the golden triangle. I had never had it called that before. That's everything, right? Ourselves, others, our purpose. When we live like that, then it's exactly what I talk about. We live in the green zone when we're deeply connected to that golden triangle.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that. What pulls us out of this golden triangle? What has us collapse the triangle in on ourselves, or what you might call the red zone? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, one of my greatest passions is to help people understand, to help us understand why we become the worst version of ourselves. When most people, especially in your community, we wake up in the morning, we're like, I want to be patient and loving and kind and connected to myself. And yet, middle of the day, end of the day, we find that we have been anything but those things we intended. And so I determined to discover what that was. And because of my own experience with the dangers of not being connected to self and others. And what I discovered is the physiology of the stress response. When we are in the stress response, which I call the red zone, we literally become disconnected from ourselves, from others, from our purpose, because we're supposed to just be tracking danger and responding to danger by either fighting the danger, fleeing, running away from the danger, or freezing. And so literally every cell in our being, in our brain is connected to that fight, flight, or freeze response. And so we can't be connected to ourselves. That's not the time to be in meditation. We can't be connected to others. Others might be potential enemies. We can't be connected to our purpose because in that moment we have one purpose only, which is to survive. So in the red zone, we literally cannot access the golden triangle. And so learning to recognize when you're in it, not believe anything people want to do in that red zone because it's going to be fight or freeze based, and then shifting yourself to what I call the green zone, where you can reconnect to your purpose, to others, to self. That's the work I'm deeply committed to doing.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the three brain system in episode one, and so many of us are unconscious and unaware that we're not the ones who are calling the shots in this show. It's literally our amygdala, this little back part of our brain that's having fights with ourselves, with one another. I find that the megaphone in our ego or our mind, Isabel, yells at us. It says, they're bad, you're bad, everybody's bad, right? And how do we quiet it? How do we shift when we're in the moment? Because I think I've been doing this work for 20 years myself, and I'm still human. I think that to expect perfection, Isabel, out of any of us is to put even more unachievable goals and judgments upon ourselves and others. So, how can we softly, in a nurturing, loving way, support ourselves so that when we can, number one, recognize when we're in the red zone, and then number two, consciously participate in shifting out of that red zone and back into green?
I love that so much. First of all, the word resilience means exactly what you just said. Of course, we're going to go into the stress response. But the question is, like you just said, and Joe Dispenza says this, people always say, do you ever go into stress response? He goes, of course I do. It's how fast I recognize it and then how fast I can get out of it. So to me, I see the red zone, yellow zone, green zone as just all part of human consciousness. We don't say the red zone shouldn't be there. Of course it's there. It's part of who we are. But we also have to be responsible with knowing the consequences of living in the red zone for too long and then learning those tools. So first step, as you said, recognize it. So check in with yourself. I have a list of signals. How do you know when you're in the stress response? So you can discover that physiologically, your heart rate is speeding up, your muscles are clenched, your voice might be frozen or really loud. You can check in with yourself emotionally. I'm anxious. I'm afraid. Mentally, I am ruminating. I am catastrophizing. Relationally, I just want to push my partner away or want to get into a fight. Those times you just want to get into a fight and you're just going to get them into a fight no matter what. That's the red zone. So learning to recognize when you're in the red zone is step number one, awareness. Step number two is action. You now have three steps. First step, stop. Stop. Don't believe anything you think, feel, or want to do because it's distorted from the stress response. If you can do just that step, just stop and say, I don't believe, yeah, I'm not going to believe that. Like you said, he's a jerk, I'm a jerk. I'm going to just stop. And that stops the neural pathways of the stress response that are so deeply engrooved in our brains to stop. Step number two, think traffic light, slow down and breathe. If you take a few deep abdominal breaths, that's the fastest way to tell your body that you are safe and it can start settling down. And then the third step is go to a feel-good habit, is find something that makes you feel good sustainably. And so that could be calling a friend, that could be taking a walk, that could be doing a few jumping jacks, that could be taking a bath, whatever you've got time for. That could be visualizing. You could be in a meeting and just for 30 seconds, just take 30 seconds to just think of a really lovely moment you had with someone you loved the day before, just to get you back into that green zone. So it literally can take minutes. Recognize and then do the three steps. Stop, slow down, breathe, and go for a feel-good habit. It's really simple and it works every time.
Yeah, and if I may piggyback two things on top of that, Isabel, that I completely agree with, is one, my dear friend and mentor, Dr. Mark Golston, who passed away about a year ago, he gave me a tool as well. And he said, imagine my voice or somebody you trust and respect in your brain when you start to spiral into that negative thoughts and I want to destroy this or burn the whole thing down, right? In that moment, to imagine somebody you love, respect, or admire in your head saying, stop it and redirect. So that was one thing Mark taught me. And then the other thing, to piggyback on what you said earlier, Isabel, is one of the biggest challenges I've found, whether it's working with coaching clients or anybody I come in contact with in life, is it's that moment where we can switch of recognizing that we're in red and choosing differently and choosing to one of our tools in our tool belt to help us. I do encourage people to have an emergency list. You can have it tattooed on your hand. I'm not saying you should get it tattooed, whatever it looks like. It could say breathe. I know some people do that. You might have it on your computer screen as a little post-it note or saved on the screensaver on your phone. Whatever it is, have your top 2 to 3 tools, even on a piece of paper in your wallet or purse. That way you can have it when you're not at your highest capacity consciously to even have that awareness. So, doing these little tricks to help yourself win when you're in those moments of complete distress and disrepair at the red state can help us to win to get back to green.
I love that. And you know what? I don't even know if we're going to do this at the end, but I have a handout that actually has the scale already. It's actually a scale that lets you know if you're red zone, green zone, yellow zone, and then the 3 steps. And people have that all over their house. And you know, the thing about it, I'm at the point now because I've been doing this work for so long. The moment I start heading towards the red zone, I feel it. I recognize the signals because I've been practicing it for so long. So I don't often go in there. If I go in there, it's so painful. It's so painful when I'm in the red zone that I just have no desire to be there. I used to have an eating disorder. That was one of the ways I coped. And I was telling my partner, Brian, who I used to be divorced with, but not anymore, last night, I don't ever want to feel horrible with food anymore. It's like the choice to eat in a way that sustains my body because I live so much in the green zone. It's so easy. It's so easy. So just for people to know as they practice their work, the more we practice it, the more our baseline changes, and then it becomes more and more uncomfortable to be in the red zone. But most people who come to me start in the red zone. But I'm telling you something, within weeks, they shift from the red zone to the green zone. It is possible to shift that fast. I think we are in a time in this planet where transformation can occur faster if we really engage in it. Do you see that too? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do the work, whether you resonate with mine or other work. There's so much great work out there. It's really possible to rewire our brains faster than ever right now.
Yeah, and even having loved ones or accountability buddies that you can do this with. My husband and I, for example, we have like key words, or my business partner and I have words where you might not even want to use the word red zone, but you could come up with something cute like watermelon or armadillo, and you say the word, and it's without calling the person out and causing them to feel shame, but helping hold them accountable. Like we're friends and we're out to dinner and you start complaining or something. You might just say, "Oh, armadillo." And it doesn't have to be like a shame or feeling guilty about it. It's, "Oh, shoot, I'm doing that thing where I'm complaining or getting angry or maybe moving towards the red zone." And the more that we can come up with fun little mnemonics and tools, just like you're talking about, Isabel, and work with experts like you, the more we can train ourselves, because it is like training in the same way we go to the gym and we train our bodies. I bet many of you out there listening work out maybe 1, 2, 3, or more times a week. We can't get a physically fit body until we physically train and commit to it. So, what's stopping us from the same way from training our brains and our nervous system to respond rather than react? It's the same thing as working out. Set aside 5, 10, 20 minutes a day to commit to this. Even 1 minute a day to start, Isabel, I would imagine would help, right?
Yeah, anything else. And you know what? You and I were really talking about the shame-based way versus love-based way of learning, which I love. One of my greatest work mantras is it's not your fault. And then if you complete that, who you become in the red zone. There are evolutionary factors at work, but it is your responsibility. So this is what I love, because it is not our fault that when I become all in the red zone, I am unrecognizable, right? When I'm really at the apex of the red zone. But I'm literally, there's evolution driving me, there's culture driving me, there's so many things that lead us to get stuck in stress. And so to be kind to ourselves about how much time it's going to take, we are wired to look for what's wrong. Our limbic brain is still wired for this stress response. So we can't give ourselves some more time. We can just be like, hey, like I was with a client yesterday who's a professional cyclist. And I said, how long did it take you? So she was really in the red zone. Her race got canceled. And she said 2 hours till she realized. And I said, then how long did it take you till you were able to shift? And she said 2 more hours, because we can recognize it. And then she did, and she called her mom, and she went for a walk, and she did all the things to take care of herself. And she got herself to the green zone, but it wasn't always like that because she was really triggered. And so the shame piece really motivates me. And then the practice piece, like you just said, like we are rewiring a brain that's hundreds of thousands of years old. We better put some momentum behind our transformation because we're fighting we are against something that's really old and really well established in our human brains.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. As I mentioned in episode one, it's these tigers. Yes, it was an evolutionary advantage to be like, oh my God, there's a tiger, I better run. And there are no more tigers, hopefully not chasing
For
us
most of us.
for
Yes.
most of us. Some people still have tigers and
Yeah.
lions and bears and all the things, but it's about recognizing it and cultivating self-compassion. There's a meditation I listened to on Insight Timer. I think her name is Lisa Abrahams or Abrams, something like that. And she has a beautiful 4-minute meditation that when I am at my worst, I love to listen to it, Isabel. And you basically put your right hand on your heart and you say out loud, oh, it makes me tear up just even saying it right now. I'm having a hard time right now. Everyone feels that way sometimes. I will be kind to myself in this moment. I will give myself the compassion I need. And it's so simple. In this 4-minute meditation, she just has us say that 3 or 4 times. And sometimes just saying that to yourself or imagining saying it to a loved one. Sometimes my husband will be having a hard day. And I'll be like, my love, you're having a hard time right now, aren't you? I'll be like, yeah. I said, do you want to say this with me? And we'll say it together to support each other when we're really deep in the red zone together.
Yeah, I love that. It brings me back because I never completed the piece of you were saying, how do we help our partners? If Brian tells me you're in the red zone, right? And he's in the red zone at all. It's like somebody telling you to breathe. It's like, yeah, but just for somebody, so sweetheart, are you in the red zone right now? Or how are you feeling right now? If you actually even put it on me to check it. If you tell me you're in the red zone, I hate it when people tell me what I feel. But for him to check in, sweetie, what are you noticing right now? Then it can be like, oh yeah, and like totally racing and reactive and this and that. So that's another trick. But when you keep talking about using my language of the methodologies, first you stop. You have to do this. You have to recognize and stop, slow down and breathe. And then that prayer of yours is a beautiful feel-good habit, which is what the go-to feel-good habit is. We have so many feel-good habits we can do. And so developing a roster of those habits that we can use in the moment, some that take 2 hours on getting a massage, some that take 30 seconds. The more habits we have at our disposal, the more likely we'll be able to use them in the moment when we need it most, which is, I know what you were saying.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Isabel. Well, I want these episodes to be little bite sized chunks so you don't have to have a full meal, like little snacks throughout your day to help you drop in and to create a tool belt. I always like to say that Batman is one of the only superheroes who is not superhuman, but what makes him a superhero is his super tool belt. So keep tuning in each week as we're going to give you different tools to add to your super tool belt. So when you find yourself falling off the side of a metaphorical cliff that could be a divorce or somebody canceling or betrayal, that you have the tools to ground yourself and to drop back in, just like the beautiful tools that Isabel Tierney has offered us today. Isabel, if people want to find out more about your work, if companies want to work with you or individuals, where do they go to get trained, certified, or learn about the work that you offer?
No, thank you. For companies, it's stressreset.co. So stressreset.co, really simple. And then for B2C, for consumers, it's the feelgoodlife.com. And if you do /habits, you can get that ebook that teaches you the methodology, helps you let go of what habits don't serve you, put together a toolkit of ones that do, and then have a one-page handout that they can put on their computer. So it's the feelgoodlife.com/habits. It's like my favorite ebook I ever created.
Oh, I love that. And that's it. Let's all go out there. Let's find tools. Please, if you have thoughts or want to communicate ideas of guests you'd like to see on the show or topics that you'd like us to discuss, you can go to jenniferkhill.com and you can go ahead and find a contact page on there and send me a note about what you think about the show, or you can, of course, leave it and review it in the comments. And we want to bring you the most relevant, helpful information for whatever you are going through. So, thank you, Isabel, for offering this beautiful handbook to our listeners. And thank you to each of you. My intention for you as you go into this week is that you're able to recognize when you're in the red zone And if you see somebody you love is in the red zone too, maybe just call them out on it and say, it seems like you're really angry right now. And I remember there was another book that was recommended to me that the gentleman said sometimes saying to somebody whatever emotion it seems they're feeling, it seems like you might be feeling really angry. That can help the people in your life feel loved, heard, and understood, to super connect to them and to yourself, and to help them super connect to their purpose. Enjoy your super connecting.